How's it going, everybody? My name is Bo, and I'm a home theater and movie enthusiast. And this video is going to be a follow-up to my previous video, which honestly wasn't ever intended to be a public video, but it was my guide to building a PB-3000 replica. I initially recorded that and had it unlisted because I was getting some questions about my first build, which I uploaded a collection of short vlog videos, and that got a decent amount of views. I was getting some questions, specifics, and I was like, instead of trying to type all this out, let me just record a video because I'm building a second one. It was like just perfect timing for some of the questions I was getting. I was like, I'll be able to show what I'm talking about and then also give some tips. And again, it was just supposed to be unlisted. Anytime anyone asked me a question, I was just going to link that video, but I decided after rewatching it that it worked fine as just a standalone video. And I'm getting questions and comments on that video, so I was like, you know what, yeah, I didn't record any of the first half of this build, but now that I kind of got some motivation from people watching just that one shot, just handheld, low quality, low effort video, why don't I just try to continue and show more of the process, further I get into the build. So that's what this is going to be. And disclaimer, this is not a step-by-step. This is not like, oh, go out and build a PB-3000, because I said it in the previous video. SVS told me they would not sell individual components for DIY projects. I just happen to have a PB-3000 or SB-3000 I'm pulling the woofer and amp board out of to make it into a ported sub, and that's why I'm building a PB-3000. I got a couple comments about why I'm building such a terrible subwoofer or whatever. It's because I have the components for a PB, for a SVS, and I'm going to match the box to the components I have. So I'm not going to go out and buy some professional grade car audio stuff. I'm not interested in that. I have the SVS stuff. I'm going to build the box to match. And a couple comments kind of led me to believe people didn't see the vlog video. They don't know I've already built one. So yeah, here's a shot of it. I had a successful build back in March of this year, 2024. And I painted it the color of my room, the wall color. And it turned out great. It sounds great, but I had all the tools and leftover materials, so I just needed to buy another sheet of MDF, basically, and I could build a second one, so why not? I think going to have about $150 into the second one, and it's going to be better built from the lessons I learned from the first build. It's going to be a little bit beefier, and I'll go over that, but I just wanted to kind of do this intro to set it up, and then I already know that there's too much stuff to do in one video, so I'm going to have a part 3, possibly a part 4. So with that being said, going to end this intro. We'll get into the workshop, and we'll get started with the build. So here is the current status now that I have mostly glued together. Still need to get the top on and the front piece to finish it off, but before I do that, I'm going to put in the sound insulation. Got it off Amazon. I'm gonna go a little bit heavier this time, but I'm gonna do it with the top off, so it'll be easier to feed underneath, because it's kind of be tricky to get to this middle section. Like, I'd have to go through here, so I'm just going to get it with while the top's off. I'm going to get it all set, and it's going to make things a lot easier in that regard. And then what I did for where the amp board's going to sit is I already pre-sprayed this. I got some color match spray paint for the wall color. It's not a perfect match, even though I think that's what the company's called. It's not an exact match, but it's not going to matter. It's going to be covered. But what I did was I sprayed it couple coats, and then I did 2 coats of clear coat, and I'm going to wait a couple more days. I'm going to kind of wet sand it smooth, and the idea is when I paint the actual subwoofer, I'm going to just tape off this. That way when I put the amp board in, this paint's going to be cured by a couple weeks, if not 3 weeks. And I did the clear coat just to help. Once I sand it with, like, probably do 400, 600, and 1,000, just lightly sanding it just to get it really smooth. Just going to create a better surface for the foam seal on the amp board instead of, you know, having texture. So, and like I said, it's going to be cured. I don't have to worry about sticking to some fresh paint. But other than that, I got some wood putty for where I put the screws in. You can obviously see I got three on the front pieces, and then 2 and 2 on the middle pieces. Looking at it now, probably could have spaced these out a little better, had something a little up, you know, a little higher. But you know, there's so much glue that I don't think the screws were necessary, but just basically a precaution. And yeah, just looking at the top here, you can see there's plenty of surface area for the glue because of the extra wedges I put in. And then these I went with 6-inch instead of 4-inch, so they're a little bit wider. And then my previous sub didn't even have this support here. I didn't build that piece as a full piece. I just cut this straight across, and this time I did kind of like with the front magnet support. So a little bit more surface area for the glue, and then another spot to screw. One thing I just figured out is the screws are too long, and they actually would have gone through, so I glued on this little extra tab. Can it focus? Glued on this extra tab. Now it looks like, you know, that's actually from the pencil from when I was drawing. It's a little bit of a seam, I guess, but it feels smooth to my finger. The only thing I wish I had just thought of these in advance and just cut out when I was cutting this piece, and so it was solid, because I had a couple of these cracked. You can see kind of where it cracked when the screw basically only goes in a little bit, but because it's just MDF, it split open. So what I did was I pushed some glue in there, and then I clamped it, and then I sealed over it with some wood sealer. But I wish I had just thought of it before. Like, you can see this one better, I think. Yeah, you can see the crack better. I wish I had just cut those out so they're all part of the original and wasn't just a glued on piece. So I guess if I make a third one, I'll know what to do. But anyway, so I'm going to get some of the insulation in, and then show you the progress, and we'll check that out in a few minutes. Well, for you, it'll be 1 second. So 1 second for you was about an hour for me. I don't have it 100% done, but I just wanted to show the progress. It's fairly simple. The hardest part is just this stuff is kind of like curved and trying to cut it straight. And you're going to need some nice scissors, but these are like razor edge ones. They're already starting to struggle a little bit, but I get a clean cut. I mean, but from the first use to now, they've already dulled a bit, but that's what they're there for. So I was worried I wasn't going to have enough, so I put a piece of this eggshell foam. I might pull it up. I think I have plenty, but I doubled up so far. I put, it's 1.5 inches, so I put one around, and then I put another, and I glued it. It's kind of hard to see in there. There, you can see a little better. Somebody in the comments probably tell me, oh, you put too much. But in the Audioholics review of this subwoofer, they said they were very happy with the amount of stuffing. They put a lot more than most subwoofer companies. Well, at least probably the lower end ones. Not saying SVS is like high end or anything, but yeah, if it's too much, you can always pull it out. It's going to be tough because I had glued it. I spray glued it together so it wouldn't fall, or I don't know if it would have enough pressure to blow out, but you can see all the dust all over the port tubes, which I'm going to clean up. And then before I use the subwoofer in the theater room, I'll take it out the garage and I'll probably blow air, probably block off the back and the front, and then blow air through one and have it come out the other one. Something. Just to try to get as much of this loose stuff out as possible. But yeah, next up, I just got to finish. I got the pieces cut, get them in place, and then glue the top on. So the top's down here. I've already, before I obviously put the stuffing, I put the top on in position and I traced all the edges where it was gonna be glued, and then I sealed with sand sealer the negative spaces. I didn't want any on the spots where it's gluing. I want the glue to soak into the pores of the MDF. But I got this pre-sealed, just like the entire inside of the subwoofer. I don't think I mentioned that earlier. So yeah, everything you see was sealed with at least 2 coats of wood sealer. Some have 3 coats. And then you can see around here I already pre-did that. And then left this so when I glue, like I said, the glue will be able to soak into the wood. So yeah, I'll get that, the remaining pieces in. I'll get the top glued on and I'll show you with once all the clamps are on. So you'll see that at a snap of a finger. And actually, before I glue, I wanted to talk about something that was a big learning curve for me. It seems so freaking obvious now, but I have all my clamps planned out before I start gluing. On my first build, I did have a few clamps, but I didn't have it fully planned out. I got the pieces of wood I'm going to use, so my clamps aren't digging into the top. Not that MDF's easy to dig into, but I got all my pieces laid out, all the clamps planned out, the boards that are going to go on top, a little spacer that's going to put a little extra pressure down in the middle so I can make sure it's nice and tight. And yeah, for whatever reason, I didn't think to do this. Maybe by the last piece I glued, I figured it out, but another thing, the insulation, it took me probably about 1 hour and 20 minutes. And again, my first time, I was just cutting it on the floor. I had a bunch of tools in the way. I had a bunch of debris this time. Obviously, right now it's not clean, but I had this whole tabletop clear. And my cat's just trying to be cute right now. But I had this whole tabletop clear. I had my long straight edge for marking and my scissors, everything ready. So I just remember last time I had just stuff everywhere. I was cutting on the floor. I had the dust. This stuff puts off quite a bit of fibers. That's all my scrap, by the way. So yeah, just something to think about. Just have all the clamps planned out and in the kind of general location of where they're going to be, so that once you get the piece on with the glue, you can act fast, because this stuff does set up pretty fast. And honestly, on the first build, I put the top down. I put a couple of clamps to hold it in position, and I went to, move it, and it was stuck down. Luckily, it was down where it needed to be because I could not move it. I was even punching from the inside. I was pressing from the inside. I could not move it. So I know now not to linger. Get the glue on. I'm going to put thicker bead on this piece. I'm not going to spread it out. Then I'm going to put a thin layer on this side and then quickly spread out the thicker glue up here, put the top on, get it positioned, get a couple clamps on, make sure it's in position, and then put the screws in. So wish me luck. And for real this time, when I snap my finger, the top's going to be glued on. And just like that, I have used every single clamp I have just to be safe. 20 clamps in total. I just wanted to make sure, you know, I had pressure. I'm not as worried much about the front because that piece is going to go over this. But just wanted to make sure I covered as much, squeeze as much glue out, and you know, it looks good. I got it lined up. Paid more attention this time. I made sure I had overhang and not. It's fine if it overhangs because then my flush mount router bit. Plus, this is getting an 1.25" radius, so this doesn't even matter. But the back, this is, you know, going to be the finished side, so I got to flush cut that, seal it as best I can, and then with the sandable primer, try to fill any little imperfections. But yeah, look at the top. I use a little thin piece underneath here just to get some down pressure on the middle, but I already got the screw in place there, and the other one's covered up. I think it's there, but you know, just gotta have some clamps, that's for sure. And luckily I have enough, because honestly, I mean, I've been all right probably with 18, but just the extra couple, just better be safe than sorry. So now it's been about 25 hours. I'm going to remove the clamps and do the next step before I take it outside, hit it with the router to flush edge any of the overhanging pieces, which I'll show. But first, let's get these clamps off. And magically, all the clamps just fell off on their own right there. So let's go take a look around and get ready for the next step. All right, here's a look. I already filled the holes with one, what do you call it, helping layer of wood filler. So just got to sand that down, and then we'll look. Got a little bit of overhang there. It's not as important on these edges because this is getting the corner radius, but I still will flush mount. Little bit overhang. You can see there's a bit of a gap there. That's not a big deal because this front piece is going to go over that. So that'll give the front a nice clean look. Obviously there'll be a seam on the side. So do some wood filler if needed, and use some filler primer, and hopefully you know, not notice that. So next thing I want to do, obviously I'm going to do the edge trim, but I'm just going to do quick sand on the filler. I got filler on the sides, which I've already sanded. I'm going to put a little bit of wood sealer on there just to protect it, and then I got to block off the front and back. I don't want a bunch of sawdust going in there, so, which I have to trim this still, is just put this cardboard in there, and I'm just going to use the screws for the amp board. Actually, yeah, trim it a little bit, but just use the screws. That way I ain't getting a bunch of sawdust inside, and then on the front I'm going to do the same thing. Just use the screws, use a couple of the screws, just punch the holes out, and then when I do the routering, it ain't gonna be a bunch of sawdust getting inside, which I still have to vacuum up some of the fibers from the sound insulation. But yeah, I mean, it's getting close. So do a little sanding, put on a little wood filler, and let that dry, and then I'll take it outside and do the routering. I might actually show that a little before and after, maybe while I'm outside. So we'll see you in a second. So like I said, I'm gonna do a little sanding, and yeah, let's get to that real quick. All right, there's a look at the hole now. To the touch, you can feel that. So I sanded it heavy, a lot of pressure, just to get any potential raise spots from when the screw head went in. Sometimes it raises up, and I just want to get that down. Then I'll put a little bit more wood filler, and because there's a little bit of a divot, leave it mounted. I'll lightly sand that, and then I'm going to hit it with some wood sealer to kind of raise it up a bit, and that way it's going to be a little more resistant to sanding, so it won't easily sand like a divot like this putty does. So I got that done, and you can see kind of the sheen. I sanded it, I put a little more filler, waited till that dry, sanded it, and then now I put 2 coats of the sand sealer, which is like just a wood sealer. And I didn't really explain, well, the reason I'm putting this on now is when I go to sand the rest, it's going to be more resilient to sanding away. So when you're sanding something, the hardest or the softest surface is going to sand first. So the wood filler is the softest. And if I didn't put this on, every time I sand, it would just sand away and have a little bit of a divot there. And yeah, so that's something I'm trying to avoid this time. So I'll just go over this lightly with some fine, probably 220 or maybe 400. And then I'll do a full coat over everything. And then when I sand that, hopefully there won't be any obvious signs that there was holes drilled there and screws put in. So I'm really hoping I'm going to try some filler primer this time and see if that just gives me, you know, a better finish. My first sub, I rolled on wall paint, and that was pretty thick, so that covered, but I still see some imperfections. So this one I'm trying to finish nicer, and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to paint it the color of the wall, but I'm going to sand it smooth in between instead of leave it textured like my first sub. And yeah, overall though, this is turning out really nice. I'm really happy with everything. The improvements I made to the build process, the making the panels, it's just really panning out. Everything's a nice fit. I don't have anything misaligned, and I really just can't wait to get the edge bit out and flush edge all this, and then I can glue the front on. But actually, this video is getting a little long. I'm running out of time, so I'm going to wrap it up here, and we'll have to do a part 3 to show, you know, the final steps. And I hope this helps somebody. Again, like I said in the beginning, I'm building this because I have the woofer and the amp for an SVS sub. So you know, if you're going to build something different or have a different woofer size, you know, good luck. I don't know if this video is going to help you with anything. Maybe some just ideas or techniques. I'd say the biggest thing I would suggest to anybody is, if you have a router, is to buy the circle guide kit. And maybe I'll do a little separate video just kind of showing why that's, you know, why I think that's the best way to go. So anyway, that's going to be it for this video. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Ask me any questions in the comments section, and we'll see you for part 3.